Hello, I am Marianne Fink. My company is Wellness Studio. At Wellness Studio, we work with bodies. So essentially, we do body work, so that's massage, energy work. We do aesthetic work, so facials. We do life coaching here. We have someone that does astrological readings, natal readings. We also have a tarot reader. And these are modalities that are beginning to become more mainstream. Probably 2015, I guess, was an overlap for me in my life where I had been an independent contractor at a place called Harmony Farm in Tip City. I was able to rent on that property and open Wellness Studio with a business partner. The drive to want to anchor something or root something in the Dayton community was always there. We opened here in Dayton would have been April of 2019. When I arrived in Dayton, it would have been the early 90s, and Dayton was not what you see today. I fell in love pretty immediately, but it was just a strange time to be here because people were just trying to get out. They weren't really trying to stay. They weren't trying to do much with what we had here. I just really had a sense that a lot of impact could be made, and that if I just continued to put one foot in front of the other, eventually things would anchor in a way that I could grow. If you go to New York City or Chicago, you've got to really have things amped up to be able to create in a town like that. And I think I had to get really honest with myself that that's not the life that I wanted to live. I wanted to have balance in my life, and I needed an economy that would afford me the ability to live well and grow steadily. When I was beginning my career, I was really doing it all. I was a single mother, and it was really coming from how do I provide a life that isn't just about surviving, it's actually about thriving. Most of us that are on an entrepreneurial journey, we're visionaries. Just by our nature, there's a creative, visionary, aspect of our being. We can see what it is that we want to create, and yet sometimes the vision will happen years before you really have manifested that thing, or you see it materialize in a way that it represents what it is that you want it to be. I came from an industrious family. We were always creative. We were always do-it-yourself. I had started a business that was probably, infamous in my high school, where I was creating chocolates. You weren't allowed to really have candy at school, but I had an underground business where I was making chocolates at home, and then I would go into homeroom and be like, all right, how many do you want for tomorrow? And I would take orders, and then I would go home and make them and come back. And so I think it was always there, but it never really dawned on me that that would be something in my life that I would weave in. What I learned early on is that I wasn't wired for a corporate life at all. Sitting down, data entry, any type of cubicle work where I was contained. I'm a very kinesthetic person. I think best when I'm moving. I went through a period of time where I was in hospitality, I was a server, and that service industry really opened up a lot for me as far as how to begin to read tables, get a sense of what is it this person's going to want from you. I just was always trying to be as perceptive as I could possibly be in any environment that I was in, and take what I could learn from that experience. And sometimes they felt like they were very divergent lessons, and yet there was a way to weave them together. And so when I look at my journey to become an entrepreneur or to be a business owner, since I don't have a classic business education, I learned from observing other industries, and then how do I apply that? I got curious about my environment and the network of Daytonians, no matter what their business was, but how are you doing it, and what do you love about that, and what's difficult about that? Not that you can ever really know the ins and outs of what it is to run a small business until you're living and breathing it, but it does help light you up in ways that you get excited and you think about, okay, how can I do a version of that in what it is that I'm doing? And I think that's the other thing that's so cool about Dayton. We have so many resources. I don't know that I can say enough of how much I appreciate it. But it's been in many times like the lifeline for me to just keep going and trusting that there are people out there that I may not see them or really know them personally, but they tell me, hey, we see you, you're doing a great job. If there's anything that we can help with, and here's a link to this. And there isn't this pervasive sense of competition. It's only, isn't this great? We're doing it, and this is happening, and this is happening. And it may be in your market, but that is not a bad thing. That's an amazing thing, that we are actually creating this very rich environment in our community, that other small businesses are flourishing. Things are always changing, and there are things that are happening right now in current events that I'm paying attention to, going, okay, this is going to create a big ripple, and what is that going to look like? But you can't live in fear and operate from that place. You have to still live in, making bold choices. There's this whole idea that you reach this place of enlightenment and then you've just got all of the information, and that's just never the reality of business. You're always learning and growing. To do a business well, you almost have to be devotional to it. It holds a frequency for you of love that keeps pulling you back into, this is why you came. This is what you're here to do. You're doing it, for the reason of your soul, your spirit, your evolution, and everyone else's that, you come in contact with. I really think it's that big. It has to break you in some ways too. You have to have your heart broken over it a couple of times and come back from that stronger and recommit yourself to the journey that you're on. I am Marianne Fink, and I am an entrepreneur.